We're back.
Anyway, we're back with our NBA episode. We had a couple of rebroadcasts of some good episodes. If you can get a chance to listen to Tyler Costin talk about the top 10 myths of teaching shooting and our roundtable 16 going back a ways. And the coach has talked about advice for a high school player and their parents.
Well, this is uh, this is not how it was supposed to be scripted, but Mike's having some computer technical issues, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just text him really quickly. And the main goal of our podcast tonight is we are going um, to flip this and talk about today being the they released some of the schedule for the NBA select games, um, and like some of the like the prime time games. So our main goal today is we're just going to talk about the opening night games. We're going to talk about the Christmas Day games. And we're going to talk about the Martin Luther King games. And I think what's really interesting about all of these is obviously when we look at these prime games, these are the games that people are, talking about. These are the teams that we think are going to be contenders. And obviously, I've floated the idea many, many times that like, you think back to last year's Christmas Day games, there were several games that no one cared about because those teams, I won't say were irrelevant, but they had been kind of up and down, not really strong teams. I am a big advocate of they should start the schedule out and let the first few weeks happen and then make the decision of what the Christmas games are going to be. And obviously you're going to have the big market teams. There's no way they're going to sit here and not put the Lakers in or not put the Knicks in. But and luckily from these teams, and we'll talk about it, I think each of the teams on the Christmas Day games this year really bring something to the table. And that's really, really cool because, you know, obviously we've got NBA championship teams. We've got teams who have been consistently good. We've got teams that were great last year. We've got some really, really awesome teams that haven't necessarily gotten the chance to play on Christmas Day and haven't had the chance to play in prime time slots. So this is really, really cool. Um, but I've been a big advocate that they should take the NBA Christmas Day games and make the schedule the same time they make the the tournament. You're doing the in-season tournament, and they have to make a schedule for the in-season tournament. And you make the in-season tournament in after those first 4 round games, when they have their round robin where they play all the teams in their groups. They then have to make a schedule based on who gets to the next round, and that schedule is not made and is not predetermined. So I really think that what they need to do is they need to look at a way to do this in the future. And once again, it might work out this year. I'm looking at these teams, and I think all 10 of these teams on Christmas Day are going to be like tenable teams that your people are going to want to watch. But when it really comes down to it, you want to get eyes glued to what's quality product, especially now that the NFL has decided that they are going to try and take over Christmas Day. And they're playing 3 games, I think, this year on Christmas Day. So we're going to have 5 NBA games, 3 NFL games, and we know the NFL is going to win the ratings battle. It's just what's going to happen. But you want to make sure it's quality product. And I think that's what really, really hurt the NBA last year was the games were not good games. I'm pretty sure on Christmas Day last year, and it wasn't because the Cavs weren't playing. I'm pretty sure I tuned into one game. Now, obviously, everybody has their own situation, family, and things, but I'm going to tell you now, I watched the NFL. It's much easier for me to say, hey, let's put an NFL game on than, hey, let's put a basketball game on. Because it just is. with when I'm with family and stuff. So because everybody knows the NFL players, everybody knows the big name teams. They don't necessarily know teams, and that was the problem. There were games that were not good last year. So I think that's something the NBA needs to look at adjusting and fixing. So what I'm going to do is, while we wait for Mike, because Mike's still not back, let me just talk through the games that they announced. So these are the games that they've announced so far, and then we'll dive into the Christmas game. The opening night is Houston at Oklahoma City, and then Golden State at the Los Angeles Lakers. So we're going with 4 Western Conference teams. I think this is very interesting. Obviously, OKC being in the Mike might be back. There's Mike. He's back. Mike's back. Hello, Mike. You there?
What's up, man?
We're live still, by the way. I just kept going, so you're gonna have fun editing that.
Well, we're gonna ignore that and just start again. So
I went on a really nice diatribe, man.
Well, you can't. We'll add it to the end. Jason's outtakes.
It's okay. Let's just go, because you're. Are you on your phone now?
Yeah.
You're still grainy, so it's gonna go well. It's bad. But we're gonna just go for it. Let's just.
Yeah, I mean you're grainy. You're grainy too, but whatever. I mean
Okay.
you're always grainy. So I don't know if it's me or you or what, but anyway, all right, here we go. I guess we're already going. Hello and welcome to the Hoopheads podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel, back after 2 weeks of no NBA pods. I've been on vacation out in the state of Washington, hitting some national parks, and good to be back home. And here we are. NBA podcast has been a dead 2 weeks. To be had in the NBA, and tonight we're trying to figure out, well, what topics can we toss at one another, and we decided to go with, instead of Christmas in July, we're going to go with Christmas in August, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to throw something at you really quickly, though, before we do that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the opening night game, I think it's kind of funny that we're going Houston at Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant has to go watch the ring ceremony. Sit through the. Come on, man. That's terrible. I
don't know. I kind of like it. It fits the bill of what the NBA typically does, right? Throw, I don't know, if rivalries or things like that. It doesn't surprise me that much. Plus, those are theoretically 2 of the best 3 teams in the Western Conference, at least heading into the season, in everybody's mind. So it's a good matchup for opening.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of interesting that they're doing that to Durant. I don't know. He's going to get booed, right?
I don't know. I don't think he gets booed. I don't think is he universally unliked in Oklahoma City? I don't know. I think the sting, winning a title, I think takes the sting out of Durant leaving. I bet he gets cheered. I don't see why they would boo him. I know he left, but you got a title after that. So I think you're celebrating. If you're a Thunder fan, you're celebrating the championship. You're not worried about Kevin Durant and booing him. I think he gets a warm reception in Oklahoma City.
Okay. All right, so let's shift our focus to the Christmas Day game. So obviously there are 5 games. We'll just go. We decided that we were just going to look at the 10 teams, and we're going to take each team and what are we most interesting about this team. So I guess the first game is the Cavs and the Knicks. I'm just happy the Cavs are in the Christmas Day games again. I'm not happy that it's at noon, because there's probably 0 chance I'm watching this game, because I don't think that my wife is going to be like, okay, we're not doing stuff now. We're going to watch the Cavs play basketball. I don't really like that it's at noon, but I see why the game's at noon based on the rest of the. I mean, the rest is all Western.
The Knicks always play at 12.
Yeah, and the rest of the teams are all Western Conference teams. Do you notice that?
Yes.
No Celtics, no Milwaukee, no Miami, no like I would have thought Milwaukee would have had a chance to have a game. Like you got Giannis, but but anyways, as far as the Cavs are concerned, I'm just excited to see them play. I don't really like the fact that they're playing the Knicks because this is the second time they'll have played the Knicks. They play the Knicks their first game, right? Playing the Knicks in the first game of the series, or yeah, they're playing the Knicks the first game of the series, and then we're gonna play them again 2 months later, which I guess is a good measuring stick game. And they're clearly the best two teams, the theoretical best two teams in the East. We've talked about this at length. We don't need to go back and do it. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's hard to really quantify what I'm looking for in the Knicks and what I'm interested in most about the Knicks because we don't know, like, what are they going to look like under their new head coach? What are they going to look? I guess that's what I'm most interested in. How are the minutes going to be managed for the New York Knicks? So these guys aren't going to be playing 44 minutes. Is Bridges going to have a new jumper? I don't know. I haven't seen any video. Is he working on his jumper? Is he going to have a hitch in his jumper again? I don't know. So I guess that would be what I'm looking forward to. As far as the Cavs is concerned, like I said, I'm just excited they're playing on Christmas. Maybe let's see how they respond on Christmas and see. I think the first 2 months this will be 2 months into the season, so we'll have an idea of what Cavs basketball looks like this season and how different it is.
Knicks-wise, I think what I'm interested in is the same thing you are, which is how does the hiring of Mike Brown and the firing of Tom Thibodeau impact the way the Knicks play? And one, you got to believe that they're going to use their bench more, and therefore starters are going to play less. Two, I think you wonder if it's going to be a more egalitarian offense, giving some other guys a chance to maybe handle the ball a little bit more and take the ball away from Jalen Brunson. Not that he's not effective with the ball, but offense a little bit more well-balanced. I think that's probably one of the things we're going to see from I think the big question with the Knicks all season is going to be how does Mike Brown materially impact the New York Knicks in a way that Tom Thibodeau couldn't. And the honest truth, we're probably going to see hints of it in the regular season, but ultimately the Knicks are at sort of the same point as the Cavs where they have to probably get to the NBA Finals next year for it to be considered a successful season. I think anything short of that, and the Knicks organization and the Knicks fans are going to be disappointed in anything short of an NBA Finals run. So we'll probably have to wait until the playoffs to really see what Mike Brown's impact is going to be on this team. But certainly, I think there's going to be a reduction in the minutes that the starters are going to play. The Knicks have revamped their bench, and it'll be interesting to see how those new guys are able to contribute. And then you go over to the Cavs side, and I think the one thing that I'm interested in the regular season, for the most part, Cavs are going to be judged again come playoff time, what they do in the regular season, whether they win 53 games or they win 68 games. I don't think it's really going to matter in anyone's mind. What I'm interested in is the continued development of Evan Mobley, going back to the conversation that you and I have had since he was a rookie, in that I'm still not sure that the Cavs can be real contenders if Evan Mobley is not their best player. And last year, Donovan obviously was first-team All-NBA. Evan Mobley was second-team All-NBA. I don't think either one of us saw that coming heading into the season. And so he took a leap last year. I think we have to look and see, is there another leap coming from Evan Mobley? And that's really what I'm going to be watching during the regular season. And then the other thing is just keeping an eye on the health of this team and can they head into the playoffs and go through the playoffs healthy. So come Christmas Day, I'll be checking in on Evan Mobley and checking in on the health of the team. And then I guess tangentially, I'm interested in Lonzo and how much he can contribute and whether or not he's able to take the place of Ty Jerome and do some of the things in a different way. I think Lonzo probably is, in an ideal world, better defender, probably is equal as a passer, probably is equal as a three-point shooter, and a guy that everybody who's ever played with Lonzo has liked to play with him. So I'm curious to see how he fits in. But the big thing is how Evan Mobley continues to develop for the Cavs.
Yeah. the other question I was gonna ask Mike was like, is Lon? Have you heard or seen? I mean, I know you were kind of off the grid a little bit, but like I was reading that their plan might be to have Lonzo Ball play like every other game and not play more than that. Have you seen and heard that, or am I making that up?
I haven't seen or heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me with his injury history that clearly the impact that Lonzo Ball is going to have is going to be huge in the playoffs. If he can be healthy 90% of what peak Lonzo Ball can be, and they can get that guy into the playoffs in shape where he can contribute in that way, I think that's going to be the key for the Cavaliers. In the regular season, the depth that they had last year and this year, as long as they can remain healthy, I still think they're deep enough that if Lonzo's only playing every other game, I don't think that hurts them tremendously unless they have other injuries on the team.
Yeah. Okay. Just a thought. All right. So the next game, the 2:30 game, San Antonio at Oklahoma City. What I'm looking for San Antonio is Fox and Wemby going to be able to play in this game because are they healthy? That's what I'm looking for with San Antonio. Like that's the big thing. Are they healthy? Because this has a potential. I think when I look at the 5 games, this is the potential to be the dud game. In my opinion, of the 5 games, this is the potential of a dud game because if Wemby or Fox are injured, then Oklahoma City will run roughshod over these guys. I'm sorry, it's just going to happen. I think the other games, and I know we're talking like injuries could play a role in all these games. And my diatribe when you were gone is I still think they should go away from making a schedule and then like 2 weeks before, like they do with the play-in tournament and all that, the tournament stuff, like the in-season tournament, they make the schedule. I think they could figure out a way to do it. And I know it's convoluted and complicated probably because it is Christmas and it's probably difficult because you got to get workers and all that stuff. But I just think personally, I think if they want the best product because listen, they're competing with the NFL now, Mike. You're going to have 5 NBA games and 3 NFL games going on Christmas Day. If I'm choosing between watching San Antonio and Oklahoma City, or I'm watching the Cowboys and another team, or people in America are not going to be sitting here probably tuning into this game. And that's what the defending champion. They're going to get that. I mean, that's this game. The next game will naturally have the New York population. Okay, Dallas and Golden State will have the California and Texas population. Houston and LA will have the California and Texas population. Minnesota, Denver will probably be popular because will be decent because the NFL games will pretty much be over. Okay, so I just think that this game right here, the San Antonio Oklahoma City game, if it's not a good game, it's not going to like. It just doesn't capture. I'm not excited. Like Oklahoma City won the championship this season, and I'm not excited to watch them play San Antonio. I don't know. It's just my opinion. I don't know if it's a bad opinion, but this to me is the bad game. Like I don't know who I would have slid into the spot instead of San Antonio, and I understand why the theoretical reasonings and machinations of it. But if you're going to keep it a Western Conference team, who's a Western Conference team that's not the Clippers? The Clippers aren't playing. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. They're going to be better than San Antonio. They're going to be better than San Antonio, Mike. I know you hate James Harden. They're better than San Antonio. Come on now. I can't wait till we do our tiers. You're going to have the new tier. They might
have a better record.
The new tier for Mike for the Clippers this year is they may win a lot of games. They got no chance in hell because James Harden's on their team in the playoffs. That's the new tier for the Clippers, Mike. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. I just think this is the bad game. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that? Of the 5 games, this is the bad game. There's always one, in my opinion, but
on paper, this game seems like the most likely potential blowout. All the games again, we're talking about games that are being played right now on paper that are still 4 months away, and we have no idea what these teams are going to look like when December 25th rolls around. But just sitting here on August the 12th, this game probably looks like it could potentially be the biggest blowout. So when I look at this game, Oklahoma City, I think what you're interested with in them is how do Holmgren and Jalen Williams continue to develop, and can SGA duplicate what he did last year in his MVP season? He's put together now 2 really unbelievable seasons. Is that just what we can expect the next 5-6 years out of SGA? So we'll be watching that. We'll be watching to see, is Chet going to develop into sort of the all-around player that people thought that he was going to be? He came into the league. Is he going to become more of an offensive force? And what is Jalen's ceiling? So I think the individual play of each of those guys, we know this team is going to be really, really, really good. And if they stay healthy, they're going to have a great chance to repeat as NBA champions. And then on the Spurs side, obviously, Wembanyama is the biggest thing that everybody's going to be watching for. Can he stay on the floor? And if he does, what level can he reach this season? I don't know where that is. There was a lot of talk last year. Could he make an all-NBA team? I think if he's throughout the entire season, that certainly is well within his reach. I think the next question becomes with the Spurs, and what I'm most interested in beyond just Wembanyama's development, his ability to stay on the floor, is how does De'Aaron Fox mesh with Wembanyama, and then how do the 2 young guards, Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, how do they figure out a way to utilize and play all 3 of those guys, whether they're on the floor at the same time? How do you split minutes? What's the roles? Who has the ball when? How does that jibe with the amount of time that Wembanyama needs on the ball? Do they put Wembanyama more down low? Does he become even more of a perimeter player than what he's been? I'm just interested in how the pieces that San Antonio is accumulating, how do those pieces fit together? And obviously, Greg Popovich no longer coaching the team, so the Spurs are kind of turning over a new leaf in a lot of ways. So this year should be very, very interesting for the Spurs, both in terms of Wembanyama, new coaching staff, and then the development of those young guards and how the presence of De'Aaron Fox, what does he do? Again, I've always been a big De'Aaron Fox believer. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he's going to fit really well with Wembanyama. Then it just becomes, how do you continue to develop Harper and Castle when De'Aaron Fox got effective hands, and clearly want Wembanyama to have the ball a lot too. So there's a lot of things that are interesting about San Antonio, but I do agree with you from a standpoint. I think that this Oklahoma City San Antonio game has the potential of the 5 games. It probably has the biggest blowout potential just because of how good the Oklahoma City Thunder have been. And last year, obviously, the Spurs were a lottery team. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. The next game we've got the Dallas Mavericks at Golden State. It feels like we have to have a game at Golden State every year at Christmas. I wonder if this is like in Steph's contract or something. Anyways, no, listen, Dallas, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, all the things that have happened and moved, but we're going to have Cooper Flag. We're going to have will Anthony Davis get injured? That'll be a bet I'm sure you can make on that game. Will Anthony Davis be injured? Unless he's already injured. Obviously, Kyrie's not going to be healthy. Klay Thompson playing in Golden State. That's always exciting. Okay, and then you got Golden State. You got Steph. You got Jimmy Butler. You got Draymond Green. Another bet will probably be, will Draymond Green get into a fight on Christmas Day? These are the things that we're going to see. Obviously it'll be interesting to see what Dallas looks like without Kyrie, but with Cooper Flag. And then it'll be interesting to see how Golden State looks. Steph's another year older. We always joke about father time with LeBron, but Steph's not far behind. Okay. It's just Steph and Draymond Green are not far behind. I think Steph probably, he's not as big of a guy. So, if he can continue to shoot at a high clip, then he'll be valuable in the league. I don't want to say many more years, but for a few years to come. But I don't know. So I guess I know we've talked at length about how we hated the Golden State Warriors during the 4-year run, but we appreciated the way that they played basketball and kind of changed the game of basketball a little bit. I don't get disgusted watching them play anymore. You know, I enjoy watching the ball movement and things. It will just be interesting to see if they are back to relevancy as far as can they legitimately contend or at least put up a fight, or they just don't have enough pieces, because I still don't think they have enough pieces, but it'll be interesting to see what we get out of Golden State.
All right, so the Warriors, there's very little that I think is intriguing about Golden State. I guess the big thing, right, is can they sustain the regular season success that they had at the end of the year after they traded for Jimmy Butler? Can they play at that clip throughout an entire regular season and then still be able to summon some type of effort similar to that in the playoffs, given the age of their most important players? I would argue that Jimmy Butler's track record for sure, both in terms of the amount of games that he plays and the, I don't want to say necessarily effort level, but he certainly doesn't take the regular season as serious as playoff Jimmy takes the playoffs. So I think there's a lot of debate out there as to whether or not Golden State is a legitimate, quote, contender. I don't know that anybody really thinks that they can win an NBA title. I think the question is, are they a team that could get out of the first round? Maybe if the bracket broke right, could they get to the Western Conference Finals? I really don't see at this point. I don't think they have enough. I think they're too old. And to be quite honest, I don't know that of all the teams, they probably are the least, I don't want to say least interesting, but I think that they're a relatively known commodity. My only question is, what are they going to look like in the regular season in terms of effort, and how hard are they going to go to try to get a 6 seed, a 5 seed? Could they get up there, or are they more than likely a playoff play-in team? I think it's just a matter of, again, can this team, what can they put together in the regular season? That's what I'll be watching with Golden State. And then on the other side of it, you have them going against, who are they playing against?
Dallas, Mike, come on, wake up, Mike, wake up.
Since I'm not on my, I'm awake. I'm just not on my, because I'm on my phone because my internet is defunct. I don't have anything pulled up. So, all right. So Dallas, clearly there's only one thing that you're going to be interested in Dallas, and that's Cooper Flagg and what kind of performance he's going to have during the season. And then obviously in a marquee spotlight on Christmas Day. I think that with Cooper Flagg, the thing that I'm most interested in is what type of role is he going to have for Dallas, and what's going to be his role moving forward as a Dallas Maverick in the NBA. Is he going to be a point forward? Is he going to be a guy who's going to play primarily off the wing? Is he going to be a guy that is screening and rolling? What's going to be his role? Is he going to play inside? Is he going to play outside? I think, is he going to have the ball in his hands a ton? Especially with Kyrie out, maybe they're going to have him handle the ball. I know in the summer league that they kind of put the ball in his hands and let him operate. Obviously, with the real NBA team is a lot different from summer league, but it kind of gave a preview of maybe what he's capable of doing at the NBA level. So I think when it comes to the Mavericks, the thing that I'm going to be interested in is just where is Cooper Flagg in terms of his development as a player, but also just how is Dallas developing his role on the team, and how does that impact what he ends up doing, not just this year, but in his entire career. So everybody's going to be watching Cooper Flagg for the 2 months leading into the Christmas game, and he'll certainly be the biggest point of intrigue for the Dallas Mavericks on Christmas Day.
Yep. All right. Next up, Houston at the Lakers, Mike. I mean, obviously Houston is probably the second best team in the Western Conference on paper. You know, I just think that's where we're at. You know, I think obviously, we could talk about Denver possibly being in there, Minnesota maybe being in there. The Lakers are not in there. So my thing is, how is the Houston thing working with Durant? Is Durant healthy? Are they playing well? That's my Houston take. For the Lakers, is LeBron James on the floor? That's the question. Is he playing basketball for the Lakers? They still haven't made amends. Or whatever, the Lakers and LeBron. But the NBA used him in the promotional material for this game. Okay. And I think opening night too, right? They're playing opening night. Is that accurate? Yeah, Golden State at Los Angeles.
They're playing the Warriors, yeah.
His picture was in the thing. So listen, I still think I'm leaning more towards like 80-20 that he's going to be the Laker now. When the season starts, I don't think that there's anything. I think it's shifted more that way because we haven't really heard anything further. But it is interesting to think about. Like that's when I'm looking at that game. Like I think Houston should probably handle the Lakers pretty well. I just think Houston's a far better team than the Lakers on paper. Once again, we're not talking on paper here, and someone could get hurt and things could happen and shift it. And who knows 2 months into the season what the teams are composed and look like. But I think the Lakers, all the pictures and things that I've seen of Luka, it looks like he's lost some weight. It looks like he's been hitting the gym. He looks like he's in pretty good shape. It was funny at the skills challenge last week. I had a Luka card, Mike, and I put it down, and one of the kids said, "Oh my gosh, look how heavy he looks in this picture." And I was like, he's like, "I've seen pictures of him. He looks a lot better now." And I'm like, well, that's what happens when you go to LA and you have, you get a contract extension and you want to prove someone wrong. You feel slighted. So I guess that's what I want to know is, what does a Lakers team look like if LeBron and Luka are on the floor and they've had time to actually like cohesively play basketball, and what does it all look like? And Austin Reeves and all those guys, like, what does that look like? And Houston, like I said, I'm just interested to see how good is Houston going to be this year. We talked about theoretical Kevin Durant situations before, and it hasn't worked out for whatever reason since he left Golden State. Nothing has been easy, but this is probably his best situation. He's joining a team that was second in the West without him, and this is where he's got to show up because, I think probably right now, and this is not an exercise we're doing right now. Probably right now, Durant's probably around, I would say he's probably a top 25, top 30 NBA player all time. Would you put him there or not? 25?
Yeah, he's up there. He's probably higher than that. Higher than that. I would say he's probably borderline top 15.
Okay, so if he doesn't win it again, let's think about this. If he doesn't win it again, at this point, he won 2 titles with Golden State when he was the best player on the team, but he had like all those other great guys around him, and he has not done anything without anyone of substance on his team. Okay. And it's not like his team's going to the finals every year. It's not like he's having the 8-year run like LeBron did. Okay. Like, I don't know. That might ding his, I don't know, like 10, 15 years from now, when you're talking about the greatest players from this generation, you're going to talk about, how Kevin Durant was a great player, but he wasn't like, I don't want to make the comparison, but it's almost like he's Vince Carter or Tracy McGrady situation where, like, those two guys, when I think back to those eras, they were probably 2 of the best 5 or 6 players and when healthy, probably 2 of the 5 best players when healthy, but they didn't get a championship. And I think most kids nowadays, if I said Tracy McGrady or I said, who did I just say? Tracy McGrady and brain farting.
Vince Carter.
Vince Carter. Most people aren't going to know them other than Vince Carter's dunk contest situation. Like, most people aren't going to know Tracy McGrady. Right? Would you agree with that statement? If I asked a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid about the NBA in the 90s, 2000s, no one knows Tracy McGrady. They couldn't. If I said name a team that Tracy McGrady played for, there's no way they could name a team for Tracy McGrady played for. So I'm not saying Durant is that bad.
I would agree. I think,
but I'm saying it's kind of a sim.
Tracy McGrady's career is definitely lost to history. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, all right, what do you think about Houston and LA, Mike?
Okay, so Houston, I think the big thing with them, obviously Durant is a big piece of it. To talk about your legacy piece, clearly Durant's, how he's going to be remembered, his career is definitely going to be thought of in a different light than it was thinking back to when he was the two-time finals MVP with the Warriors. Since then, you had the failed super team in Brooklyn. You've got the flame out in Phoenix, and now he's got his third chance at another team with the Rockets. Who knows how that's going to turn out? Durant, obviously, just like Steph and LeBron, getting older, still incredibly effective, but is he at this point a guy who could be the best player on a championship team? I would say probably not. And at some point, you have to start looking at Kevin Durant and wondering, what is it about this guy that just doesn't work for given teams? And even in Golden State, it felt like he couldn't quite make it work. Obviously, they made it work for 2 years with those incredible teams, but the time ran out much more quickly than I think probably people thought it would on that version of the Warriors team. So I think Durant's legacy definitely has been impacted by his time in Brooklyn and in Phoenix. And sure, if he leads Houston to a couple more titles or one title, that'll have a huge positive impact on where he ends up being thought of historically. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, scoring forward of all time. So you can put him wherever you want. As I've said many times, every time the guy shoots, I expect it to go in. And he's an incredible, incredible player. But certainly his last two stops have not worn well for him. It hasn't been a good look in either Brooklyn or in Phoenix when it comes to putting together a team and choosing the right set of teammates in the right place to play. So we'll see if Houston ends up being that correct place. So that's the Durant piece of it. The other thing that I'm most interested in is the continued development of Amen Thompson. And as good as he was last year as sort of a breakout star, especially on the defensive end of the floor and with his energy and rebounding and athleticism, I think it'll be fun to watch whether or not he can take that next step and become a little bit more of a reliable shooter, and what kind of offensive force is Amen Thompson going to be able to be? What's his offensive ceiling, which ultimately is going to determine, can he be the best player, the second best player, the third best player on a championship team? Who knows? I think his offensive ceiling is what's going to determine that. But clearly, from an athleticism and just IQ and all the things that he can do on the defensive end of the floor, he's going to be a guy that over the next couple of years, watching him develop is going to be really fun and intriguing. So that's what I'm watching with the Houston Rockets. And then on the other side, the Lakers, clearly Luka. And if you get the best version of Luka Doncic, is that what we're going to get this year? Is a guy who is in shape, not injured, and who even when he has been not in the best condition and slightly injured, has been a first-team All-NBA player 5 out of the last 6 years, except for last year when he was basically hurt and out of shape the entire season. If we get the best version of that guy, how good can he be? And then to go along with that, how good can the Lakers be? And it remains to be seen, but I think the answer is Luka can be pretty good. And if he's that good, then you got to think he can elevate the Lakers maybe higher than what people think that he may be able to. So we'll see. But the other part of it with the Lakers is obviously LeBron. And the intrigue there is he's never been in a situation where he is clearly at this point the second banana in LA, both in terms of how the organization is looking at the entire team and how he has been placed in the hierarchy. And so I don't know. We've been talking about it for years. How would LeBron react to being the second fiddle? We talked about it with Anthony Davis. It never really happened. And Now with Luka, we will see if LeBron is willing and able to defer. It seems like those two guys should be able to, with their basketball IQ, coalesce and make things work and make their teammates better and elevate LA into being a pseudo title contender. But who knows? But I guess what intrigues me is, what version of Luka are we getting? Is this going to be the best version that we've ever seen? And then how does LeBron accept the fact that the Lakers organization has started to pivot and coalesce this team around Luka Doncic, with LeBron as sort of a peripheral player in the game? And how does that impact in this season? And then when this season ends, what's his decision in terms of returning to LA, going somewhere else, retiring? Who knows what he's going to do? So we will see.
Yep. All right. So the last game, Mike. So I think it's interesting because I feel like the theoretical best two games are the bookends of Christmas Day. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think probably when you look at the matchups that are interesting, clearly the Knicks Cavs is an interesting matchup, and then I think this Minnesota Denver matchup has been one that Denver's been the better team for the last couple seasons, at least in terms of regular season. But Minnesota, for whatever reason, has sort of had their number. So it's a good matchup for these teams, just based on past matchups during the regular season. And in the case of Minnesota and Denver, Minnesota beat them not this past season, but the year before in the Western Conference playoffs in Game 7. And then you obviously had the Cavs and Knicks playing two years ago, 3 years ago, whatever that was, where the Knicks kind of ripped the soul out of the Cavs in that first round playoff series. So yeah, I agree. Both of those games are very interesting. So I'll let you give your Denver Minnesota takes, and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah. So I think Minnesota, obviously, what am I most interested in? I just want to watch Anthony Edwards play basketball. That's really what it is. It comes down to, I really enjoy watching him play. I really enjoy watching him, the way he plays. And just that's what I'm most excited for with Minnesota. I mean, nothing really changed as far as, like, their Minnesota didn't make any big changes this offseason. So I honestly think this is just, and then when you look at Denver, like, of course it's Jokic. And I think I sent you the video of Jokic, how excited he was when his horse won a race. He was more excited about his horse winning a race than he was about winning the NBA championship. There was a good video putting it together of him, like, jumping up and down, going crazy about his horse winning, and then him celebrating in the locker room after winning the NBA championship. And he was like with the champagne bottle, and he was just shaking it like this, like he was just kind of going through the motions. I'm just fascinated with Jokic. And I don't know, did you see when you were on vacation? There was a video, and I can't remember who said it, that Jokic was considering not signing his extension and just retiring. Did you see that? Did you see that or not?
I did not see that, but it's not surprising that that's out there.
Like, I'll see if I can find out who said that. But yeah, so I'm just interested. I'm just interested to watch Jokic. I enjoy watching Jokic play. So.
On the Denver side, yeah, I think it's Jokic, and then it's how does Cam Thomas fit in with Denver? How much better does Jokic make Cam Thomas? How much better is Cam Thomas than, I shouldn't say Cam. Yeah, Cam. Why am I saying? Yeah, Cam Thomas. Much better than Michael Porter Jr. I think it'll be that'll be interesting. And then on the other side of it, you have, as you said, Anthony Edwards. I think Edwards clearly has been a guy that we want to see him develop into a true MVP candidate, right? He's been a guy that last year he added the 3 to his game, and I believe he led the league in 3-pointers made, if I'm not mistaken, last year, and did it shooting a very, very high percentage. And so clearly you want to balance Anthony Edwards, his athleticism, ability to go to the basket. I think that's going to be a big, a big thing for Edwards, is finding that balance between attacking the rim with his athleticism and then his ability to shoot the three. I think the big question for Anthony Edwards is, can he take that next step as a playmaker and get to where he needs to go. And Minnesota, as you said, didn't really make much in the way of big changes. They lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but brought back Naz Reid. They still have Rudy Gobert. Re-signed Julius Randle. So their team still looks relatively the same as what it has. They're probably still a little bit over-reliant on Mike Conley as a lead guard until Rob Dillingham gets ready. And, obviously Rudy Gobert is a guy that, love him or hate him, he still gives you some defensive he still sets the tone for the Minnesota defense and gives them an opportunity to be a top 5, top 10 defense in the league just with Rudy Gobert in there. So it should be very, very interesting as we go forward here to see whether or not Anthony Edwards ever gets to that level where he is thought of as an MVP candidate and not a guy who's maybe in, ranked 6 through 10 in the league. Can he climb up into that top 5? And I think the playmaking piece of it is where we're missing there, what people want to see him develop into. So I think, watching Edwards, and then obviously on the other side, watching Jokic and some of the guys that they've added to their bench to give them a better rotation of players by bringing back Bruce Brown and getting Valanciunas. I think those are some good additions that can help to improve that Denver bench.
Yep. All right, Mike. Anything else you want to say, or are we good for the night?
I feel like I've drawn a blank on not Cam. It's not Cam Thomas. What's the guy's name that the Nuggets signed, that they traded for? His name's not Cam Thomas. What's his name?
Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson. There we go. See, I knew I was wrong. Even as I was saying it, I kept saying Cam Thomas. I'm like, it's not Cam Thomas. It's not Cam Thomas. But since I'm on the phone and I can't double check myself, that's why I ended up with Cam. That's why I ended up with Cam Thomas instead of Cam Johnson. But I'm interested to see how Cam Johnson fits in.
Yeah. All right. I'm interested to see how you troubleshoot your internet tomorrow to prepare for our interviews tomorrow night, Mike.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So we'll see.
And then you go back to work for your final hurrah starting Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So exciting stuff.
Yeah, first day of first day of school, I guess is the way you could look at it. So for anybody who doesn't know out there, I'll be retired on October 1. So looking forward to that day. And
that's going to be the best podcast tomorrow.
So I thought we were getting done.
So, all right, Mike.
All right, let's leave it there since our internet is laggy and who knows what this editing is going to look like. But we are glad to be back. And I am not glad that my internet, it had like 2 weeks to rest while I was out of town. And I come back and the first podcast, it's totally defunct. So anyway, thanks for sticking with us through this NBA pod. Appreciate it. It is Christmas in August. And we will see you next week on our next NBA podcast. And we do have a couple of interviews coming up tomorrow night. So we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming of a new episode coming out Thursday night and Sunday night. So thanks for sticking with us. And we will catch you on our next episode.